It was supposed to be just another family wedding, full of laughter, love, and a chance for everyone to come together. But for Emma, a simple woman from a modest background, it turned into something far more painful. Just weeks before her cousin's big day, she received a message that stunned her. She was no longer invited. No explanation, no phone call. Just a cold, formal message from her cousin saying her presence would change the vibe of the wedding. At first, Emma thought it was some kind of mistake, but the truth was more cruel than she imagined. You see, Emma didn't dress like the rest of her family. She didn't wear designer clothes or flaunt her lifestyle. She was quiet, kind-hearted, and humble, qualities that somehow made her an easy target for judgment. But what her cousin failed to remember was that Emma's life had changed in ways no one expected. A few years ago, Emma married David, a soft-spoken, deeply private man who also happened to be a billionaire. He never showed off his wealth, and Emma never talked about it. To the world, she was still the same simple woman they'd always known. But when David found out about the wedding snub, something inside him shifted. He wasn't angry for himself. He was heartbroken for Emma. She didn't ask for revenge. She didn't ask for anything. But David had his own way of handling things, and it involved doing something that would shock the entire family and leave the bride scrambling for answers. What happened next turned a petty act of exclusion into one of the most unforgettable moments in wedding history. And when the big day finally came, no one, especially not the cousin, was prepared for the twist that unfolded at the very heart of the celebration. Emma hadn't spoken much about her marriage to David. Not because she was hiding anything, but because she believed love wasn't something you needed to prove. Most people in her family assumed David was just another quiet man with an office job. No flashy cars, no over-the-top gifts, no reason to suspect he was one of the wealthiest men in the city. Emma liked it that way. She didn't care about status or showing off. She just wanted peace. But peace became impossible the moment her cousin decided she didn't belong at the wedding. The cousin, Amanda, always had a strong personality. Growing up, she and Emma had been close, but things changed as they got older. Amanda started hanging out with a more exclusive crowd. Her social media was filled with lavish brunches, beach getaways, and pictures and outfits that cost more than Emma's entire wardrobe. When Amanda got engaged to her longtime boyfriend, she made it clear that her wedding would be perfect, a flawless luxury event with a carefully curated guest list. Somewhere along the way, Emma no longer made the cut, but Amanda didn't. Realized that the person she left off the guest list was married to the man who would end up owning the very venue she booked months in advance. And it wasn't just any venue. It was a highly sought-after estate known for hosting high-profile events. David, in his quiet way, had contacts everywhere. The moment he heard what happened, he made a few discreet calls. No drama, no threats. Just quiet power moving behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Amanda was busy finalizing her dream wedding, unaware that everything was slowly shifting. Vendors began canceling. The estate manager stopped responding. And behind it all, Emma said nothing. She kept smiling, even when her heart was still hurting. But David had a plan. And soon, the entire wedding would become something no one could have predicted. The days leading up to the wedding grew more chaotic, but Amanda tried to keep her cool. She blamed the sudden changes on poor management and bad luck. When the catering company pulled out without explanation, she found a backup. When the decorator went silent, she hired someone new, though not as experienced. But what really started to rattle her was the venue itself. The estate she'd dreamed of for over a year, the one she bragged about endlessly online, suddenly became unavailable. She was told there was a new owner, someone who wanted it reserved for a private event on the same date. She demanded answers. No one gave her any. What Amanda didn't know was that her wedding date now belonged to David. Behind closed doors, Emma didn't feel triumphant. She wasn't the type to get even. In fact, she questioned David's decision more than once. Maybe we should just let it go, she said quietly one evening. But David, calm as ever, simply replied, "You didn't deserve that kind of treatment. You never have." At the same time, whispers were starting to spread among the family. Emma's sudden absence from the guest list had not gone unnoticed. A few relatives began asking questions, and Amanda's answers were vague. "It's just complicated," she kept saying. But there was nothing complicated about it. She didn't want Emma there because she thought Emma was plain, dull, and would ruin the aesthetic of her big day. But with the venue pulled out from under her, Amanda was left scrambling to find a replacement at the last minute. Her fiancé was confused, her wedding planner on edge, and her picture-perfect celebration was unraveling fast. Still, she had no idea who was behind it all, or that the simple woman she once pushed aside was connected to power in ways Amanda never imagined. And the most surprising part? The real twist hadn't even happened yet. 3 days before the wedding, Amanda was holding back tears as she paced through her parents' living room. The backup venue she had managed to find, after calling over a dozen places, suddenly fell through. Double booked, they claimed. At this point, even her fiancé was beginning to lose patience. "Maybe we should just postpone," he suggested gently. But Amanda snapped. "Postpone? After all the money we spent? After everything I planned?" Her voice cracked, but there was no time for tears. Her pride wouldn't allow it. Meanwhile, Emma sat quietly at home, watching everything unfold from a distance. A few relatives had started texting her, confused, curious, even apologetic. One aunt messaged, "I didn't know you weren't invited. That doesn't seem right." Emma never responded with bitterness. She simply said she was wishing Amanda the best. But deep down, there was a storm of emotions she couldn't quite explain. She didn't want revenge, but she also couldn't ignore the sting of being cast aside by someone she once considered family. David, on the other hand, was still calm. He made a few more calls, securing plans that no one outside their circle knew about. His influence wasn't loud, but it was powerful. And it was becoming clear that the chaos Amanda was facing wasn't just coincidence. It was a quiet message, wrapped in elegance and restraint. You don't get to treat people like they're disposable. The night before the wedding, Amanda received a final blow. Her wedding planner backed out. No warning, no reason. Just an apologetic email and a refund. Now, with less than 24 hours to go, Amanda was left to manage everything herself. Vendors weren't returning calls, deliveries were delayed, and no one seemed to care about her big day anymore. But then came the invitation. An elegant envelope, hand-delivered, addressed to Amanda and her fiancé. Inside, a single line. "You're invited." The sender, Emma and David. And the location? The exact venue Amanda had lost. Amanda stared at the invitation in disbelief. Her name, written in elegant gold lettering, was now tied to the very venue that had slipped through her fingers. For a moment, she thought it was a mistake. A cruel joke. But as she flipped the card over, there was no denying it. Emma and David were hosting a private event at the estate on the same date as her planned wedding. And they were inviting her. The color drained from Amanda's face. Her fiancé looked over her shoulder, confused. "Are they throwing a party on our wedding day? Why would they invite us?" Amanda didn't answer. Her stomach twisted. She realized all too late that everything happening, every canceled vendor, every unanswered call, had been part of something bigger. But she still didn't understand why. Or how. As the hours ticked by, word began to spread. Relatives who had originally RSVP'd to Amanda's wedding were now asking if they should attend Emma's event instead. Some didn't even ask. They simply said they were going. "It just seems nicer," one cousin texted. Another messaged, "I always liked Emma better anyway." Amanda's perfect guest list was collapsing. But then came the second twist, one that neither Amanda nor David saw coming. That evening, Emma received a message from Amanda's mother. A simple request. "Can we talk? In person." Emma hesitated. They hadn't spoken in months, but something about the tone felt different. When they met, Amanda's mother didn't come to fight. She came to confess. She admitted the decision to uninvite Emma wasn't just Amanda's. It was a family discussion. They thought Emma's presence would draw attention away and confuse people, given her new lifestyle. Emma was devastated. The exclusion hadn't been just one person, it had been many. People she grew up with, trusted, loved, and now, as the night before the event slipped into silence, Emma faced a choice: rise above it all, or finally show the strength they'd all underestimated. The morning of the event arrived, and the estate was glowing. Sunlight bounced off crystal, glassware. The gardens were trimmed to perfection, and a soft string quartet played in the background. But this wasn't a wedding. It was a quiet celebration of something far deeper: Emma's strength, her grace, and the people who truly valued her. Guests arrived one by one, many of them family members who had once stayed silent. Now they were choosing to stand beside her. Emma greeted everyone warmly, never mentioning the drama that had unfolded in the weeks before. David stayed close, keeping things simple and elegant, just as she liked. There were no grand speeches or flashy displays of wealth, just good food, music, and peace. Something Emma had been denied for far too long. Then, just past noon, Amanda showed up. She wasn't dressed like a bride. No gown, no bouquet, just a pale blue dress and a look of confusion that bordered on desperation. She stepped onto the lawn slowly, as if she wasn't sure she was really welcome. For a long moment, no one said a word. Then Emma walked over. Amanda opened her mouth to speak, but Emma beat her to it. "You're not here to apologize," she said softly, "and that's okay. I didn't do this to hurt you. I did it because I needed to remind myself that I belonged." Amanda looked around, realizing the people she had once considered her loyal guests were here. For Emma. Not for her dress or her Instagram-worthy moments, but for who she was. As Amanda turned to leave, there was one final twist. David approached. Handed her a folded piece of paper and simply said, "Your original venue? It's still yours. We bought it, but never canceled your booking." And with that, the story came full circle. Not revenge, just quiet justice. Amanda stood there for a moment, staring at the paper in her hands. It was a quiet gesture, but it hit harder than any argument ever could. David and Emma had never tried to ruin her wedding. They never wanted revenge, they just wanted respect. And instead of fighting fire with fire, they gave her something back that she never would have expected: grace. She didn't say thank you. She didn't have to. Her silence said enough. Amanda turned and walked away, leaving Emma's event behind. And maybe, just maybe, starting to understand the difference between status and true character. As the day continued, laughter filled the estate. Kids ran through the garden paths, relatives caught up over soft music, and Emma felt something she hadn't felt in weeks: peace. The woman who had once been pushed aside for being too simple had become the center of something beautiful, not because of wealth or power, but because of her quiet strength and kindness. People saw her differently now, not because she changed, but because they finally looked closer. Later that evening, as the sun began to set, Emma and David sat together, under the soft light strung through the trees. No cameras, no spotlight. Just a couple who had weathered something painful and come out stronger for it. "You didn't have to do all this," Emma said. David smiled. "I know. But you deserved better than what they gave you." And she did. The story of a simple woman banned from a wedding, only to host an unforgettable event with her billionaire husband, wasn't just about family drama or status. It was a reminder that the quietest people often hold the most strength. That kindness is never weakness. And that sometimes, the best kind of power is the one that doesn't need to be announced. It simply shows up when it matters most.